She loves her husband, and he will come back to her, and she knows that, because she's as steady as the north wind. The mother in Sicily has tied one of her sons to her and has failed to tie the other one to her. And as a result, Mr. Johnny can't marry because he's still his mommy's son. And this marriage could never work out because he's a real bachelor. But his brother is cut from a different mold. He's a rebel, and he's broken free, and he has his own perspective, and he's going to prevail.
I'm calling from the deathbed of my mother.
Yeah, well, how was your plane ride?
The waitresses were very nice.
The lighting in this particular sequence in Sicily, which is supposed to be in Sicily, was just done on a stage, but God, it's so beautiful. I mean, it looks like an old Italian film. I mean, there's something about this kind of reflective light he uses, and there's no doubt about it. The old man is a master.
She's dead.
Have you called my brother?
No, I'm sorry, no, not yet. I forgot.
Will you do it today?
Yes.
Make sure he...
Nicolas Cage has the most difficult part in the piece. I mean, Shanley will tell you that. I mean, he has an almost impossible part to play. You know, here is the tormented soul with whose part of his hand has been cut off in a slicer and in the bakery, and he's a poetic baker, and he's consumed with opera, and he's so tormented, and he's the one that's got the tough stuff. And I knew this, and I knew that was the most difficult part in the whole piece. So I had a long chat with Cher about it, because I believe the chemistry has to be right between two people, or it's very difficult.
Norman came back, the studio won't accept him, we don't think it's a really good idea, he's quirky, but we got this guy, this other guy that we think is really right. And I said, yeah, but I really want Nikki. And they said, well, then would you do the screen test with both of them? I said, okay, yes, I would.
They screen tested another guy who I had thought might be good for the part. And I saw the two screen tests. And in one, the guy was just blown off the frame by Cher. It was Cher and a guy.
But when Nikki and I did it, it was just so right. And then they saw the test, and they came back and said the studio won't accept him. And I remember I went home, and I just kept thinking about it, and I kept thinking, I just want Nikki. I know I'm being inflexible, but I just want Nikki. And I called and I said, I'm not going to do the film unless I get Nikki. And so we were at a stalemate for maybe a week. We were at a stalemate for a week. And Ronnie called me and he said, this is silly. You've got to listen to people, because I'm totally famous for not listening to people. And I said, yeah, but I always thought it would be Nikki. In my mind, when I read the script, I saw Nikki doing those words. So finally, they said to me, are you serious about not doing this unless you have him? And I said, yeah. And so then I got him.
I want to talk to him.
Oh, that scene is interesting because it wasn't set there originally. It was set in the bakery itself. And then Norman called me up and said, we found this incredible location in Brooklyn with these ovens, and you've got to see it. You've got to rewrite the scene so it takes place in this room. So I went out and I looked at the space, and I came back and I wrote this thing about this hot hole in the wall and shoveling bread in and out of it all day. And it was great to set it down there because it made him a kind of Vulcan character, this extra thing where you got to sort of see his fiery nature as opposed to just experience it in his acting. You could also see him like literally shoveling coal in the fire.
The whole idea of putting actors in a real location just brings the reality of the moment to the highest pitch. They are now in the reality of the place, so the performance just goes up that extra notch, and I just know that we were right in going down into that hot, humid, terrible dungeon of a bakery, as difficult as it was for David Watkin to light, because he had no room, he had no height. But it didn't bother him. Nothing bothers David Watkin.
bread, and I sweat and shovel this stinking dough in and out of this hot hole in the wall, and I should be so happy. Huh, sweetie? You want me to come to the wedding?
Oh, he really got it. Nick really just got this character, and it's not an easy part to play. I've written some roles like this, and you quickly find out that most people can't do it. He was of the style of the film. As soon as you read it, I knew he was going to be great.
So you can tell my brother Johnny on his wedding day, okay? Chrissy, bring me the big knife!
I tell you, I won't do it!
She won't do it. Do you know about me?
From the beginning, I felt that at that point in his life that Nicolas Cage was the most tormented soul I'd ever met. So I don't know why. I just felt he was a tormented person. And I told Cher that, and she agreed with me.
And when I first meet Nicky, and he is talking about his hand, and he shows me his hand, and I remember I really wanted that hand. I don't know if I got it or not, but that was one thing I wanted from the movie. There was two of them, and I just really wanted one.
Nick was totally secure in his acting, and I love that.
She found out that I'd been maimed. She left me for another man.
That's the bad blood between you.
I've always noticed that these things are true. That when you read fairy tales, to me, they read like true stories. When I see operas, they play to me like true stories. There's nothing in this film that I haven't seen, that I haven't done. I've seen this kind of behavior. I've had this kind of behavior. I've known other people who've had this kind of behavior. And in fact, the things that I knew a guy who had a wooden hand. That's why there's a guy with a wooden hand in this movie. And in his case, what he did was, because he had a wooden hand, he felt that people disrespected him. And so he was always trying to pick fights with people. And nobody wanted to fight him because he had a wooden hand.